on March 20th. Please stand for the Pledge of Allegiance.
Allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Good morning, everybody. At this meeting, I know it's a workshop, but we will take action on certain issues. So right at this time, does any member of this council have a conflict of interest, appearance of conflict of interest with regards to any item on the agenda? If so, please state it at this time.
No.
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 Yeah.
No.
Amendment, approval, and draft agenda?
Mr. Mayor, I would like to remove under new business item C, the consideration to cancel the April 2nd meeting. We have many issues that may require votes. In its place, I would like to add as an old business item G, a discussion to conduct an island sidewalk survey to all island property owners. I would also like to add a disposition of directors for the April 2nd meeting this evening or this morning.
That's on the agenda.
It's on the agenda.
Well, it would be for the April 2nd meeting and not the 17th.
So you want to move it from the 17th to the 2nd?
No, the April 2nd meeting. And we're having, hopefully we're having a meeting on the 2nd.
As of right now, we are.
Yes.
Okay. But right now, we have nothing on the agenda for April 2nd. So you're adding something to the April 2nd?
We will have items on the agenda for April 2nd.
Need a second on that?
Is there a second?
Second.
So moved.
All in favor?
Aye.
Well, you call the vote. You're
Yeah.
the-
Vote? Vote? Motion to vote?
Aye.
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 Mr. Mayor,
Yes.
I would like to add under G, well, Mr. Soretta's,
H.
well, yeah, well, I would like to hear a status of the sidewalk issue. So I don't know where that would come.
It'd be H.
H.
H. That would be Dustin. Any other amendments on the agenda?
Yes, I'd like to have a closed session at the end of the public comments and before adjournment, personnel matter
Today?
today.
Need a second?
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
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 Jan, didn't you have?
Any other changes on the agenda?
I will have something when we get to dispositions of directives, but not to add it now. The April 2nd meeting. Do I need to do that now?
No, we have to do that now, right?
Okay,
No, you can do it then? Okay. All right. Anything else to the agenda? Next issue is public comments on, things are on the agenda only, please. You have 3 minutes. Okay. State your name, please.
My name's Eddie Walters, 19 Boulevard South. I want to address the item of the ordinance regarding the cabana regulations. the powers that the general statutes of the state gives municipality to create ordinances states that the ordinances are to be drafted and enforced for the public health, safety, and welfare. I'd like to see some discussion on how eliminating the service of erecting and removing cabanas on the beach serves that purpose. Also, I'm gonna have to read this. Our statutes also state in section 160 that a city shall be consistent with the Constitution and laws of North Carolina of the United States. An ordinance is not consistent with the state or federal law when, item number 2, the ordinance makes unlawful an act, omission, or condition which is expressly made lawful by the state or federal law. So I'd like to see some discussion with council on how eliminating a legal business in town is consistent with the ability to implement ordinances and to make unlawful something that is lawful in our state. You're allowing the cabanas on the beach to be set up by folks who your own staff has previously stated is where the majority of your problems come from. And the folks who run these businesses know the rules, they know the regulations, and they're the ones in compliance with the rules and regulations. So I don't know how that's going to serve the safety or the welfare of the public. This is going to drive umbrellas, which shading is for the benefit of the folks on the beach. And how do you see that the use of umbrellas is safer than cabanas? Or are you going to restrict the folks' abilities to erect umbrellas on the beach also? If a third-party company wanted to open a umbrella and erection service and takedown service in the town, are you going to eliminate that lawful business in the town also?
Thank you, Eddie.
Any other comments?
Fred Thorne, 17904 Queen Anne Street, Sunset Beach. I wish Town Council was here this morning because I believe at the meeting on March 13th, the presiding officer, Mayor Pro Tem, made a motion to approve the text amendment, which was possibly not legal. I am not a legal scholar. Therefore, the action taken should not have occurred. The presiding officer also voted in favor of the motion rather than breaking a tie. I believe a 2/3 vote was required, which did not happen. Also, Town Council this morning, every member said there was no conflict of interest on any agenda items. I believe there is a conflict of interest for a council member, Ms. Harris, as she sits as interim president of BEAT. I believe she has no right to be in this discussion, nor to lead the effort. I fear that BEAT will take over the ERC. Thank you.
Thank you, Fred.
Yes.
Colin Vandenberg, Blue Planet Water Sports. We actually own the cabana company that services Sunset Beach.
Would you pull the mic up a little bit, please?
Yeah. Basically, just wanted to comment a couple things. I'm not a good public speaker, so I'll keep it kind of short. I wish you guys just would have came to us and let us know what was going on, maybe how we could have regulated it, made the beach possible better for our customer client base and locals that use us. About a quarter of our rentals is local. I just want you to know that what you're doing late in the season is affecting our livelihoods, along with our mortgage, electric bills, and stuff that we have planned for. We basically have to find a new career. And, it's pretty unfair.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Any other comments?
Jean Hunt, 105 Forest Walk. About the cabanas. I walked the beach patrol for the turtles at 6 o'clock in the morning, and before we're back at 7:30 or so, those cabanas are going up, and they're there until 6 o'clock in the evening. There's a lot of them. Doesn't always leave room for people who live in town that want to put a cabana up, which includes me. I've got 20-some people coming this summer for a family reunion, and several of them have to have shade. One is a organ transplant. A couple of them have severe allergies to the sun. One has medication, they can't take the sun. So I'm for the cabanas. The problem seems to be that there's so many rental ones that are up from 7:30 or so in the morning until 6 o'clock at night that sit there, and in a lot of cases, they're sitting there empty. If there could be some way to regulate it where people can rent them for a certain time period during the day, that might solve the problem. And there was something else I wanted to say, but I can't think of it right now. But anyway, I'm not against cabanas. It just needs tweaking. Oh, I know what I wanted to say. The fact that you ruled so severely last week to happen this season, I thought to myself, maybe you could do something like that for season 2019, rather than do it immediately and put, like this gentleman said, put them out of work. And that's it about cabanas. Thank you.
Thank you, Gene.
Any more comments?
My name is Diane Filer. I live at 217 West Canal here on the mainland. And my question really is around the language of the ordinance, not that I am pro-cabana, but the way that the language is in the ordinance, it says that they have to be erected by the person who has rented them. And my question is, what if about the inability of erecting them, whether you are a single parent, whether you have an ADA accommodation, whether you are a senior citizen, what is the language that is encompassing for someone to be able to go ahead and have another person put that cabana up for them? Thank you.
Thank you, Diane.
Any other comments? At this time, I'd like to go into closed session. Any motion?
So moved.
That's at the end of the meeting,
Oh, the end of the meeting? Yeah. After public comment?
but before adjournment.
Oh, okay. Now we're to old business, Cobia and North Shore paving project budget amendment. Bonnie?
Good morning. This is a budget amendment that comes on the heels of your December decision to go forward with the Cobia and North Shore paving project. It's just housekeeping. The estimate at this point is for a total of $133,700. 21,000 of that has already occurred with engineering services, and the paving bid that you all accepted was $112,100. So the total at this.
What was the total cost again?
The total cost is it's on the budget amendment, $133,700 at this point. This is not going to be the final cost. There will be additional costs because this is going to be subject to an assessment to the affected property owners.
Right.
So at this point.
Bonnie, what is the estimate cost per property owner, roughly? Do you have?
Actually, I don't have that.
Okay,
I can
that's
get that
fine.
for you, but I don't have it at this time.
Okay, that's fine. Mr. Mayor, I would like to file a motion to adopt the capital budget project ordinance amendment for Cobia Street and North Shore
Is there any
Drive.
discussion on it?
Need a
Go with
second.
it.
Do we need
I'm
a
good.
second?
I just seconded. No.
Now discussion? Anything?
It's a good idea, let's move on.
Okay,
Yes.
We have to vote.
vote. Motion to vote?
Aye.
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 Next, all old business is the First Citizen Bank Declaration Authorization Signature. Lisa? No, it's Bonnie, I'm sorry.
Right. It's again, another housekeeping matter. Susan Parker and Robert Forrester need to be removed as authorized signers for the operating account with First Citizens, and Hiram as interim, and Mayor Pro Tem Benton as the new authorized signers.
Mr. Mayor, I would like to file a motion to authorize the declaration of the unincorporated business entity for the town account to remove Susan Parker and Robert Forrester as the authorized signers, and to add acting town administrator Hiram Marizano and pro tem mayor Mark Benton as the authorized signatures or signers.
Second motion.
Second.
All in favor?
Discussion, I have a question. What is our check signing policy? Do we have one person, do all of these individuals can sign, or is it a two-person policy?
It's two people, and one of them has to be a finance officer. So at this point, the other two signers are myself and Lori Fry, who's the deputy finance officer.
Good.
Okay.
All right, thank you.
Move to a vote. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Number C, I need to read something to the audience. During March 13th, 2018 meeting, the town council passed a motion to prohibit commercial cabana vendors from erecting and removing cabanas on the Strand for their customer. However, the motion passed by a simple majority. North Carolina Statute 160A-75 and Council Rules, Procedure Rule 21 states, no ordinance nor any action having the effect of an ordinance may be finalized or adopted on the date on which it is introduced except by a affirmative vote equal to greater than 2/3 of all actual members of the council. So therefore, that vote was illegal.
No, it's not illegal, it's just the first vote.
It was a first. Now we need to go to a second vote.
Mr. Mayor, I would like to introduce the second reading of the amendment to prohibit commercial cabana vendors from erecting or removing cabanas on the Strand for their customers as required by NC Statute 160A-75 and Council Procedure 21, Section A, and to file a motion of the amendment for final adoption.
Second.
Discussion.
I've got, yeah, it's been clear from the March 13th meeting and the other meetings that this ordinance change has caused significant concern among the community and among the vendors, and it has significant impact on this coming summer season, affecting the vendors, affecting the residents who when they have guests, use the vendors to put up their cabanas, affecting the visitors that come, and impacting the overall atmosphere that we have of Sunset Beach as a family-friendly, welcoming place for our tourists to come. My real concern, I have no doubts that I can change the direction that we're going towards cabanas. But I think what we can do is take a good hard look at the negative impact that we are having on a large number of people and just say we should defer any action on cabanas until the end of the season, and then in the end of September or early October we should go ahead and address it. And if the decision is to ban cabanas, if the decision is to do some type of controls on vendors, whatever it happens to be, take it back then when it doesn't disrupt the planning, the finances, the incomes that have already been put into preparation. So I think we should, with all due respect, I think I really want the cabanas to stay, but at least for right now, we should just postpone the issue until September and minimize the impact on our community, on our vendors, on our visitors.
Any more discussion?
Yes, I think that we may put 2 or 3 companies out of business. I know they rent cabanas in other areas. You can may put an unknown number of people out of work. If people stop coming to Sunset Beach because they can't have cabanas, rentals may be down, house rentals may be down, which would have an effect on our occupancy tax and could possibly cause a raise in our property tax to make up for it. Thank you.
Mr. Mayor, there's been a long history regarding cabanas since they were authorized by the council a number of years ago. Last year, the council initially voted to cancel cabanas, and they were all cabanas, and that vote was later reversed. Cabanas have been a problem. Philosophically, the thought of using public trust land for commercialization when it should be first come, first serve, it may be a difficult decision, but it is the right decision. The idea that vendors can set up tents early in the morning, restricting others the same opportunity because they don't come first, when the tents lie empty for hours, to me, in our small little beach town, is inappropriate. We can't be all things to all people, and that's the difficult part of it. The other beaches that have canceled totally cabanas, which this amendment does not, have not reported any loss of revenues or business. The idea that we've had this policy for years that has been very controversial and layers of regulations, frankly hasn't worked. And the idea that you can set up a tent, a vendor can set up a tent, leave it vacant, and have people in real time call to rent it, I think is inappropriate. Our beach is small, particularly during high tide. So I have no other comment, Mr. Mayor. Thank you.
Jan?
Yes, I would like to comment. We have done this so many times. It's time to either do it or not do it. But I would like to address one thing that was brought up in public comment. Actually, 2 things. One is an individual has the right to rent a cabana from a vendor and have that vendor put it up for them and have them put it down for them. There's nothing that says you yourself have to put it up and take it down. It says you are responsible for putting it up and taking it down. If you want to get somebody to take it down for you, that's fine. The ordinance does not prohibit that. Am I correct?
It says that no vendor or rental enterprise shall not, they'll
Right.
not erect it.
Yeah.
What you just said is that they could.
Okay. They can get.
But they can have someone else's, I
They
think the
can
point
have
you're getting.
someone else
Yeah.
to take it down.
Nothing would stop them from having a friend, having a family member. or
That's
anything like
correct.
that,
But not the vendor.
As it's written.
It says erect or remove.
The other thing, the other point I would like to make is, the vendors are businesses, but they are not permitted in our town. They do not have permits to operate, and they do not have contracts with the town. So the fact that we are throwing businesses out of town is not true. There is no permit and there is no contract with the town.
Any other comments?
They-
Yeah. Go ahead, Joe.
Well, they have They have contracts with town residents and our visitors. To say that they're reserving public trust land or reserving public trust land and then they're reserving that spot for visitors and residents. It's a first come, first served thing. There's nothing to keep my daughter from putting her chairs up and blanket and towels, and she's also reserving a space. But if one is first come, first served, so is the other.
John?
I take exception to the concept that's been articulated about public trust land. Philosophically, I'm not bothered by public trust land being serviced by vendors who are helping the health, welfare, enjoyment, pleasure of our community. It's not without precedent that that happens. I think you have to take and balance your philosophical beliefs with the concept of the service to the community. And when you look at the type of community we are, which is a beach community, heavily dependent upon visitors, 38% of our budget comes from property taxes and landowners, and many of those on the property taxes are able to keep their houses and pay those taxes because they have visitors come who rent them out. And then the other 62% of our budget comes from things like sales tax, accommodation tax, other funds that come in. So this community is heavily dependent upon the funding that comes from the outside. We have, for the last 3 years, gone through a series of refinements of what our rules are for regulating the cabanas on the beach, and it has worked better and better each time. So it's a pretty smooth operation. The problems we have out there on the beach with the beach patrol are with the people who are the private users who don't know what the rules are and have to be taught each time they begin to come out here and use the beach. The vendors set the standard, have been pretty good. This past year, there was the new example of, and I think it was a new vendor into the community, that put up some tents and tried to rent them real time. It was very few tents. There were a couple tents. That's something we can regulate and we can control. The problems that are out there are very manageable, very small, and not nearly of the magnitude that requires or compels this town council to go through and take the draconian steps that we're taking now to eliminate our vendors from being able to provide the services onto the beach. And so my view is again, particularly this action is so late in the season that it is extremely disruptive, impacting a lot of people. And if we're going to take and discuss it, and if we're going to get rid of cabanas, which seems to be the direction that the majority of this council wants to go, then do it at the end of the season so everybody has from October until the beginning of the new season to plan and make changes and accommodate. And it doesn't matter that North Myrtle Beach or Ocean Isle Beach have banned cabanas. What they do is their own business, not our business. Thank you.
Mr. Mayor, there's a motion on the table.
Jan, do you have any
I
more
would like to make
discussion?
one. I agree with John that it is unfortunate that it has taken this long to come to this action. But the reason it has taken this long is because this issue keeps getting kicked down the road. It's time to do it or not do it.
Any more discussion?
I disagree.
Okay. There's a motion.
It was seconded, wasn't it?
Second?
It was seconded.
Second. Motion to vote. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Opposed?
Yep, finish the vote.
Opposed?
Please.
Opposed?
Nay.
No.
Item number Number D, Sunset at Sunset Committee request. I'd just like to make a comment that I talked to John earlier today about it, and with my new commitment as a pro tem mayor for a short term, I may not be able to do this as a full-time thing, so I would like to be part of Sunset at Sunset, maybe the main liaison, and when I can't make it, I contact Charlie to fill in for me, if Charlie would do that.
I'll be glad to do that.
Okay. Any discussion?
I'm comfortable with that.
That's fine.
Fine.
Do you want to add GSAT,
What's that?
the GSAT position?
We're doing that right now, it's not on
Okay.
the agenda.
All right.
But a motion to the vote, all in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Aye. All against? None, right? E, proposal ERC rules and responsibilities. Jan Harris.
Lisa, do I have a conflict of interest? Thank you.
She asked if she had a conflict of interest, and Lisa said no.
Oh, no.
I have here, for you, the, Environmental Resource Committee, written up to, but I would, excuse my voice, I would like to propose that, I would like to propose that we accept Hiram's changes to the first proposal that came out. And I have a couple of changes that I would like to make to that, and that is where you take out the dunes, because dunes are private property. That is absolutely true. Dunes are private property. Dunes are private property. However, the frontal dune on our beach and even on the backside of the island where it's considered ocean erodible AEC, those dunes are regulated. And I think it would be a good idea for our Environmental Resource Committee to be aware of how our frontal dunes are protected, and I think it would be remiss of us to remove that from their responsibilities.
Right. That's totally fine with everything in here, but should we put in there then that if we're not gonna take the dunes out, that change wasn't made by me originally. But if we're gonna take dunes, or put dunes in, put them in as regulated by CAMA.
Yes, that's fine.
Okay. Can I, where are we? Which document? are
Oh,
we-
sorry.
Which document are we
Environmental
working off
Resource
of?
Committee document.
This would be
Okay.
4EB
There
at
you
the
go.
top of your page.
All right. And now
4EB,
this is-
but it's
this is-
package page 17.
These are your changes, Hiram?
In the red are my changes,
Okay.
or my proposed changes.
And where is the one on the dunes that you're talking about?
It's number 5.
On packet page 17.
All right, I see, I got it.
What, this other document that I was just handed,
That's just what I've written it. I've written it up as I am talking about it here.
Okay.
In other words,
just-
this is a compilation of all the changes
Yes,
in one
yes.
document.
In one document.
well, don't we
Excuse
have,
me.
Charlie, let her finish real quick.
well, I'd like to know what I'm looking at here. You throw
Well-
another document in here on top of this after I've read this 3 times.
Oh, okay, Charlotte, just ignore that document. Just ignore it.
I think what Ms. Harris has done is to give us what her changes are, and I don't think there is going to be a vote this evening or this morning regarding it. I think it's for us to take home and to study and to bring this issue to the table on the April 2nd meeting. That's because I have to read this.
That's what I was saying.
Yeah.
Any more discussion?
If you would
Well,
if you would
Jan's
let
not
me
finished.
finish,
Jan's
please.
not finished, let her finish, and then the rest of us can discuss.
Okay.
Additionally, you all have received, I'm sure, my remarks that I would like to add to this document, and they are in your packet. They're in your packet, and I will read this for the people here. I would like to remove the prohibitions that are in this document and add 2 points that I believe are a compromise. So,
Which page is that on?
beg your
19,
pardon?
Charlie.
It's on page 4EC.
No, 19.
Packet page 19.
Okay, packet page 19.
Okay, I got it, thanks.
To make this document acceptable to me, I would need to add 2 points under responsibilities and change or rework some of the prohibitions while eliminating others, and make them part of these points. I cannot find mention of prohibitions being identified for any other town board or committee. If that is correct, the current proposal immediately suggests that the council is treating the ERC differently and in an inferior manner, and for that reason, a separate prohibition section must be eliminated. I would propose the following addition to the responsibilities. 15, we have 14 in Hiram's version. Point 15, the Sunset Beach Environmental Resource Committee is authorized to conduct whatever research is deemed necessary to fully carry out its aforementioned responsibilities. This allowable research includes discussions and interviews with persons, groups, and organizations with expertise on and/or experience with the subject matter and studies of community attitudes. The Sunset Beach Environmental Resource Committee should notify Town Council on a bi-weekly basis of individuals and groups with whom it has communicated. Point 16, the Sunset Beach Environmental Resource Committee is authorized to make its committee reports available to the public. These reports should be clearly identified as being a Sunset Beach Environmental Resource Committee report and should not express or imply that the positions taken represent the official positions of the town. The Sunset Beach Environmental Resource Committee is not empowered to act as a legal representative. Let me read that again. Is not empowered to act as a legal representative of the town unless Town Council specifically grants that power on a particular matter. So if people want to discuss.
Any discussion?
I'd like to add one thing. Unfortunately, this has been made a controversial issue by the actions taken last year. I would like to suggest that when this is reviewed on the April 2nd meeting, and if adopted, that the committee members who resigned be reinvited, formally reinvited, to join this committee, and other than Ms. Harris. So if there are vacancies, I think the number we had was 5. And if there are vacancies, then we can hopefully determine how many vacancies we will have.
Any other?
Are you saying we just reappoint the people that resigned?
No.
I'm saying that we should invite them to see if they want to be reappointed.
And they would be interviewed again?
If necessary, I have no objections to that.
Along with any
Along
other
with any
applicants
others.
that we advertise for and go
Yes.
through a whole procedure to bring them back on. What you're
Absolutely.
saying is if they were on the committee before, we would not preclude them from being reappointed again, even though they resigned. But they have to go through the application process that we will open up to the entire community the way we did before, so we get new
Yes.
blood as well
Yeah.
as old blood.
Yes,
Yeah,
they should be
that's fine.
given the chance that
I'm
anybody
fine
else
with
in the
that.
community.
Yeah, I have, because I think
Yeah.
Charlie has to have the opportunity, and others who have not been involved in the process, the opportunity to reappoint them.
I agree with that. Yeah. So
So right now, I'd like to make a, motion.
Well, can we-
Real quick, John, just say, we're gonna put this on the April 2nd agenda. We'll go back and read these papers, because this is new to me, new to Charlie, so what Jan handed out.
I sent it to you.
Why don't we finish the discussion before we decide the
I just made a
disposition?
comment, John, that's all.
All right,
Any other discussion?
yeah. There are a number of things, and so let me start off being very clear. I think the Environmental Resource Committee is a valuable asset. It can do a lot for the town, and I support that. But we have to manage it much better than we managed last year. One comment that Ms. Harris made that I disagree with concerns the guidance being provided. She calls them the prohibitions being identified. And one of the things we have a number of committees in this town. Each one of them has a different function, a different mission. Some of them have a different basis. So the fact that each one of them is managed in a different way by the council is reasonable, and it makes sense. And we should be managing those committees in a way that does the best for the town. So it's not one mold fits all, is my point of view. And I think this committee does, based on past experience, need a little bit more hands-on approach by the council. And if you will, I very much would like to be the liaison that works with this committee. Having said that, I think overall we need to tighten the language, clarifying the town council authority on all the tasks that come through here. And so while I like the tasks that have been identified by Hiram, I think that some of them need to be adjusted. Item 3, for example, is research specific issues of an environmental nature as directed by the council. I think that is a very good statement with the concept in there as directed by the council. Number 4 is education of town residents, again, as directed by the council. We have to lay out what the program is, approve what the program is, what is being educated, what is being the message that's going out, that the ERC would propose to us. Item number 5, which is organization of events to enhance the environment, such as but not limited to marsh, litter pickups, encouragement of construction of rain gardens and other stormwater methods, again, as directed by the council. Number 6, I'm okay with that. That's assisted meeting reporting requirements to the town. Number 7, assist town staff in the administration of the stormwater plan. One of the questions I have is how is ERC going to assist in the administration, and are we giving them administrative authorities to go through there? So I think that's, I would say it'd be more like advise the town staff on directions to take in the administration of the stormwater plan. Number 8, monitor existing. I'm reading off of the change regulation that's up there, so it's different from my other long pontifications. Monitor existing environmental conditions which have or may potentially have impact upon the town, and report to the council. If they identify something that's going on, they should make those reports back to the council, and then come up with recommendations and ideas what should be done. Identify and make recommendations to stabilize and protect the estuary system to the council. Study and recommend methods to the council which may be used by the town and its residents to use fewer non-renewable resources. Strongly agree with that. Provide recommendations for preservation of trees within the town. I strongly agree with that. Identify areas of environmental concern and propose remediation to the council for those areas. Review and make recommendations on applications for proposed development as part of a technical review committee process addressing any environmental issues regarding these applications, citing conformity with adopted plans. Again, these recommendations to the council. study and make recommendations concerning open space preservation, water resources, air pollution control, solid waste management, soil and landscape protection, environmental appearance, marine resources, etc. Again, recommendations to the council. And
Sorry. If I can, real quick, I'm sorry to interrupt. Back on 13,
yeah,
Technical Review Committee reports to the Planning Board.
I'm going to say that again.
I'm sorry, the Technical Review Committee reports to the Planning Board, not to the council. That's just for commercial developments.
Right.
In our already established review process for the Technical Committee.
Okay, so we put in there, specify, what I'm saying is be specific where we want these things to be reported and what reported, so
Okay.
to the planning board. And then, the prohibitions, there are 4 of them listed. One is speaking on behalf of the town or communicating independently of the town council. I strongly agree with that one. Acting on the behalf of the town in any capacity, and I would insert not specifically authorized by the town. The prohibition taken or stating a public opinion with relation to any of its responsibilities independently and without the permission of the town council. I agree with that. The ERC is not to be a advocacy program that goes out and picks up an issue, decides which way they think the ERC wants to go, and then promulgate that, propose that all around the community. They come back to the council. Communicating with outside agencies or permitting authorities without the expressed approval of the council. Again, they are a body appointed, set up for the council to serve the town, and the council determines what actions they should be taken. So that takes me to point 15 that Ms. Harris proposed. I pretty much agree with this statement. Point 15, they should be authorized to conduct whatever research is deemed necessary to carry out the aforementioned responsibilities. That's pretty straightforward, and that's what we're telling them to do. Go out and do the research. Point 16, I specifically disagree with the first sentence that says the ERC is authorized to make its committee reports available to the public, sorry. I think that should be replaced in that place all ERC reports and minutes on the town website. The town council will determine and specifically authorize any additional dissemination outside of it. Again, they're a town council committee. They report back, work back through the town council. Town council in principle should consider and approve any dissemination, and when appropriate, the town council should make sure there's legal review. I think the last statement of point 16 is absolutely correct. The ERC is not empowered to act as a legal representative of the town unless the town council specifically grants that power on a particular matter. And excuse me, then I was assuming that most of the town did not have all of the bullets that were included in this policy, so that's why I went through in such detail. That's all for now.
Any other discussion?
Yes. The policy that Ms. Harris sent out, the guidelines, states the town's planning director shall be appointed as the staff liaison to the committee and will serve as an advisory position to the Environmental Resources Committee. Other staff may be consulted as arranged by the planning director. One of the things that troubles me about council is that it attempts to micromanage. And I don't like that. We have very smart, bright people in this town, a lot smarter than I am. And they don't need to be micromanaged. We had a successful committee. The ERC was a success. They provided a report by independent scientists, and the council failed to accept the report. Apparently, they didn't like the independent science evaluations concerning dredging Jinks Creek. Too bad. That's what the independent scientists stated. Read and learn. Because those who wanted to dredge Jinks Creek without all the facts call the report biased. Independent scientists from North Carolina and out of the state of North Carolina have no financial vested interest in any project. They just report the scientific facts. Why a council made up of laymen refused to accept the report, to me, was biased on their part. Now, this council has to learn to read, accept, and then you can make your own opinion. But you can't make an opinion unless you have all the facts from all sides. And I think what the council did a year ago, if I can quote Hillary Clinton, was deplorable. And that's all I will say about that. And that's what Forrest Gump said.
Mr. Mayor,
You weren't that
Yes,
smart.
Charlie?
you know, you'll find scientists that will argue in the other direction. The council makes these final decisions, and that's our prerogative, and we do it to the best of our knowledge. The problem, I think, last year was that the ERC went out on their own and ignored the directives given by the town. You won't see our planning board or our board of adjustment go out and report their sometimes biased findings to the public. And I think that was the big problem, and that's why the council last year cut them short. And then when they got cut short, they resigned. We need an ERC, but we need an unbiased ERC. I'm especially interested in recycling, and I would like to see mandatory recycling paid for by the town. And I had talked to Susan Parker about this last year, even before the election, and she had some ideas on that would work with very little cost to the town. I don't know where that is now, but I support the ERC, but they can't go off on their own.
Mr. Mayor,
Yes, Jan?
the ERC never, ever once stated an opinion. The only thing that ERC did was report the findings of the scientist. And if there are scientists out there that have a different opinion, I would charge Charlie with finding them, because we could not. Also, the amount of work that is required to serve on that committee and do a good job is extensive. And if that work is not appreciated by the people they're working for, you're not going to find people to go on this ERC. You're not going to find people that are willing to put in the hours, and I mean hours and hours and hours, and I mean spend their own money making copies of things for the committee members. You're not going to find people that, if you treat them like you don't believe what they say unless it's verified, and they've already done the verification, you're not going to get people from this community to work under those conditions. That's my opinion.
Two items. Okay. The statement that the council last year did not appreciate or did not listen to what the ERC said is incorrect. Look at the memorandum that was done right after they resigned that transmitted the findings and the issues that the ERC raised to the town to the town staff, and in turn was transmitted to the consultant and to the review committee that, was it sourcing committee? What is the name of the committee that, all the alphabet organizations that?
Scoping.
Scoping committee, that went to the scoping committee. So all of the key points that were raised by the ERC were presented to the scoping committee for their consideration. That's just letting that point rest right there. Second one, Mr. Serrato again raised vaguely the concept of financial interest. In the last go-around last year, the financial interest has to do with the fact that I live on a canal and my property is on a canal and I use the canals. Our lawyer back in June of last year and back in the fall of last year determined and provided justification explaining that there is not a financial conflict of interest. If I'm going to get a financial conflict of interest, first we have to get the values way, way up there, and second, I have to sell the house that I just built and moved into on retirement. The lawyer said there is no conflict of interest. He was addressing specifically the property that former councilperson Carol Scott owned on North Shore Drive, as well as the property that I owned. So I would, with all due respect, request that you stop bringing up those allegations.
Mr. Mayor.
Thank you.
Mr. Mayor.
First of all, real quick, I want to say something, John. You didn't mention you by name, so I don't know.
No, but his history of writing brings it up, you know, and it refers to me. I'm the one that potentially would have that.
Mr. Mayor.
Dan?
I believe that when we talk about financial interest, we're talking about the experts that the town refers to are Moffitt and Nichols. Moffitt and Nichols has a financial interest in this project. The scientists that the ERC talked to did not have a financial interest, nor do they ever have a financial interest. The scientists are there to give the scientist of the situation.
Ms. Harris, thank you. When I made this statement about a financial interest, I was not implying John. Scientists don't have a financial interest. Many of them, they don't even live here. They look at data. That's what they do. They research and they study data. A consultant has the appearance of a financial interest because they make money. The more detailed in this project, the more money they make. Scientists, I have worked with scientists for 40 years. Believe me, they have no financial interest. Period. Thank you.
John? John, can I make a recommendation real quick?
You can make a recommendation, well, I think, yeah.
I think, this draft is very close to what everybody agrees upon. I think you and Jan should get together, finalize the last draft that you both can live with, and we'll bring it to the April 2nd meeting. And would you agree upon that with Jan?
Sure. Yeah.
You two get together and hash out the differences. It's only a few words here and there. And, we'll come back on April 2nd and discuss it further.
I agree with that approach. I'd be glad to do that. But I still want to clarify.
Absolutely, John.
The consultant financial interest. The consultant gets paid for doing a study that the town told them to do to facilitate and get ready for the dredging if and when it should take place. The consultant doesn't make money from the dredging or the results of that. The fact that they're making money is because we decided to hire them to do it. And we're giving them the parameters which tells them how much they need to do and for how long. So their financial interest is taken care of when we sign that first contract with them to do it. So that's just incorrect approach. On scientists' financial interest, I'm not going to argue with that one, but I think you can look at various communities, the medical scientists who make pills and things like that and then advertise on TV. There's lots of financial interests that get associated with scientists.
Follow the money.
And the fact that you've been dealing with them for 40 years doesn't change that.
All right, let's keep it going, guys. We've been very
That's
good
enough
for
of
right now.
All right.
Let's keep it going. So listen, so we put this on the agenda for April 2nd, Lisa, and John and Jan will get together and work this out and.
Yeah, we have to get an agreed solution that we then get to Lisa, so it's published before the meeting, so everybody can see it, right?
Yes, yes,
Right?
that
Jan?
would be helpful.
You agree?
Yes, I agree, but I might have problems with that by April the 2nd. I'm going to be out of town from Wednesday of this week until, that gives me a week after I get back.
Well,
Yeah, we
then,
can
you
do
know,
it.
a reasonable thing would be, you and I work it out. We bring it back then to the next workshop and make sure all of
I would
our
agree. It should
issues have
come
been
back to a
worked out.
workshop, not a
And
special
then the
meeting.
subsequent Monday evening meeting, we have a vote on the rules,
Okay.
on the wording.
So then that would be the April 17th.
That would be the workshop that we
Right.
bring a solution
Okay.
back to.
All right, Lisa, put
And-
that on April 17th, please.
And then in May, we would take it up for a vote
That's fine.
after the discussion.
Thank you. Business outreach, John?
Yeah, all right. Councilwoman Harris, myself, and interim administrator Hiram met, and the idea is we on the council have an appreciation that the relationship between the council and our business community is not as positive as everybody would like it to be. So we have come up with an approach, and you happy with me talking it through, or Jan? Or-
Yes, please.
Okay. So what we've done is sort of come up with a starting game plan on how to approach a community business outreach program. And so it starts off, the conclusion of this summary here is that we want to have a meeting here at the town hall on June 12th at 5:30, the end of a business day, with members of the business community, all of them would be invited, to meet with the council members and staff departments, department heads and key personnel. The date we're selecting it is after our budget cycle is concluded, and it gives us time to kind of modify our plan. So what are we trying to accomplish here? We want to improve town and business community communications. Sort of to do that, we need to really start the communications. We want to solicit business community views and feedback on issues of concern. We want to get business community assistance in addressing policy issues facing the town. And with that, there's understanding that goes both ways. So part of this is we're thinking of establishing, after this meeting, 3 focus groups that would discuss business sector related issues. You know, a professional group with, excuse the names if they're not quite appropriate, but that would kind of bring our community medical, legal, real estate sectors, not all this is exclusive, as kind of one group. Our retail business group is a second group, and our food, beverage, and dining sector as a third sector to come together. So 3 separate discussion groups that we would have following subsequently. And overall, we want to improve the image of the town relative to the business community. So in this meeting, the idea would be Ms. Harris and myself would chair the meeting, assisted by Hiram. We would do an introduction to the whole business community that outlines what we're trying to accomplish. We would ask that our town staff department heads and key personnel give a brief statement of what their duties and responsibilities are, sort of to bring everybody on the same sheet of music. And then it kind of explain the guidelines of the meetings. We're asking the business community to present their issues, their concerns, and their suggestions for their improvement. But we're not setting this up as a debate session. If the staff can give a brief answer to clarify a question that the community has, we would give that. But more likely what we want to do is we want to be in a receive mode, have an appointed note taker to collect and compile the comments and suggestions for the staff and council. And then we on the council and with the staff kind of work up answers, and we break down into these focal groups at a later date, discuss them and try to address those issues. So we would use the full range of options that we have to make the public notice. The idea, we have a very finite number of business members in our community, and we want to reach out and make sure that each one of them gets an individual invitation to come to this session, this initial session. And then as follow-up, have 3 focal groups, as we discussed, to discuss the issues in details and develop a recommendation recommendations on how policies can be changed. Then we will propose the dates for the focal group meetings. And part of our idea now is we would designate 2 council members to be sitting in with each one of the focal groups so that all of us are involved in the process. And then we would establish a feedback mechanism to make sure we get the answers back to you. Now that's the concept. That's where we are today. And it's obviously, we had one meeting. Hiram had lots of ideas that he brought into us. There are a lot of factors that need to be considered every time we make a change or an adjustment to one of our policies, but this is a starting point to do it. And so I open that up to, do you have anything else to add, Jan?
I don't, I think.
Hiram, that kind of covered what we talked about, I think.
Yep.
And,
Any
you
other
know,
discussion?
so other ideas.
Any other discussion? Rich?
My only concern is that when you develop focus groups and all these layers of, bureaucracy, I think it would be advisable to have the meeting with the merchants sooner, to hear their input and to hear their concerns, and then from that point formulate things that we need to do. And I think June 12th is a little on the late side.
Well, again, we set that date based on the heavy commitment that we have with the budget that needs to be done by the beginning of June, and that's the first time after that that goes. Again, the sequence was, you know, get the community inputs, and then we break up into the focus groups after that to go through and discuss the specifics.
All right, that's fine. I'm not gonna fall on my sword. It's a
Any other
great start.
discussion? Charlie?
I think John and Jan have come up with a great plan.
I do so.
We do need to be more business friendly here.
Thank you, Charlie.
So at least, do I have to make a motion to accept this?
You need to make a motion to establish that special meeting for June 12th.
Yeah.
All right, I'd like to make a motion to establish that special meeting.
Second.
Aye.
Second. All in favor?
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Go to new business, and that's the Crooked Street Gully Circle Street Repair, Dustin, the man of the hour. Yes,
You had the 2 additions to old business.
sidewalk. A real, you stay there, Dustin, real quick.
Oh, yeah.
Richard also made up a proposal to do a sidewalk study survey.
I've talked to several island residents and a number that have approached me, and they have the perception that since Main Street has been widened, that people use the bike trail, so forth, and the sidewalk and people's easements to walk. My thought was the sidewalk cost, I believe, Hiram, you're gonna have to help me out, it's around 350,000.
It's budgeted for 4 with a grant with 100,000.
It's budget for 4 with the
With
grant of
grants of
100.
Right.
Is
And
that a
plus-
total of 500? then?
Yes.
Total of
Up to
500.
All right, plus we have to purchase I noticed it on the board that we're gonna have to purchase a sand cleaner,
A street sweeper. A street sweeper.
and I believe that was $118,000.
Yes.
Yeah.
Part of
So-
stormwater, though, isn't it?
Yes, as far as
That's
stormwater.
stormwater
Well,
primarily.
yeah, that was for stormwater, but to also sweep the sidewalks and those kinds of things. Is that,
Multi-use.
It's more to use to be the sidewalk, the park, the bike paths.
Okay.
Out here on 179, it'll be used for multiple things.
yeah, the only thought I have, and it's just that it's general, the biggest problem that we have in this town is stormwater management. And my thought was, to conduct a survey with the fact sheet, how much this project's going to cost, lay out the cost of the projects, and since the sidewalks are being impacted on island homeowners, that they have input in this process. Now, there's a perception that I've always had, is that Main Street, to me, could be a safety hazard. There's no sidewalks. People walk on Main Street. But then you hear people saying that we've already widened Main Street. Do we need to spend all this money for sidewalks when we have stormwater issues, which are more crucial? So it's just a matter to get some input from the people on the island. That's, you know, that's where they live, and to gather their input. So I'm just throwing it out for discussion, and that's my feeling on that. I think citizens should have, who are directly impacted, should have a say and should have some input.
Now, the first of the year, we did send letters out to Main Street property owners on both sides.
Yeah.
And so far, all the feedback that I've got has been positive about the sidewalk.
Okay.
That we have got back from them, that I have talked to.
All right.
Are you saying in effect that you have already surveyed?
We've sent
by
out
sending
letters
out?
we've sent letters out notifying about the construction, about if they want to move the rocks or the plants, anything like that in the right of way they had to move. And we would tell them what was coming, and they seemed pretty positive about it.
Dustin, they're responsible to move trees, shrubs,
Yeah,
landscaping.
That's right. They're responsible to move it. If they don't move it when we come through with the construction,
Rich,
it's gone.
I think this is the letter that went out was sufficient, and I don't think we need another survey.
I haven't seen the letter, and I haven't seen the results. And I'd like to see them.
Okay.
Yeah.
But I'd like to table this right now until Rich has a chance to look at that, and then we'll vote on that.
Yeah.
Yeah, well,
Well, there's nothing to
there's
vote
no
on unless-
There's no vote now, but since we are discussing, you know, the sidewalks, it would be good at the next meeting to get an update of where the contracting process is, where the permits and approvals are.
Well, I'm going
And-
to tell you that now.
okay.
That's item H.
Is that H?
Yeah.
All right. Well, then, one factor that goes into both of these things is the question of the degree to which the planning and preparation of the sidewalk is also being integrated into sort of the long-range planning and preparation for the stormwater, because there's likely to be some areas of the sidewalk that the stormwater construction would
Yeah.
impact, I would think, but I don't know.
Well,
John, I apologize for, I was going to bring this up under G, but, or H, but it's my understanding that swales, which are needed to help control stormwater runoff, were not included in the sidewalk project. That's correct, right?
That's correct. And the reason why is we're going with pervious concrete. So with the water running from the rain and all that, it will go into the ground. It won't run off unless you get a really heavy downpour. But it's designed to control its own water, because
From the sidewalks.
From the sidewalk,
Yeah.
because it's designed to go into it. Now, if you would have put regular concrete out there, yeah, you would have had a stormwater. We would have put in filtration pipes, we would have put in catch basins, or we would have put in swales. But the reason why we went with the pervious.
But adding swells, wouldn't that help the situation, or does it hinder it?
If you put swales in, you have to maintain them. And once you put them in, they won't be no driving on them, because you got to maintain them.
So there'd be no parking on them either.
That
So there would be no parking on the south side of Main Street, is that what you're saying?
And plus, some of your areas where you already got hills, where the driveways are elevated, it'd be a challenge to put a swell into them areas.
And Dustin, I was told if we do the sidewalks properly and we make the driveway smaller, which, you know, some of them are 50 feet wide, make them regulation, we'll be adding parking spaces.
I don't think we can do that. I'm not sure. No, I think it's
you gotta
grandfathered.
understand that they're all gravel anyway,
Yeah.
so you can still park there as long as they leave a 25-foot open spot for them to pull in. That's how it has been supposedly supposed to be working, because that gravel is not considered driveway, it's considered landscaping.
Right.
Yeah.
But they have to have a 25-foot opening to the property, except for duplexes which are allowed to have two 10-foot openings.
Yes.
Yeah, I think what we're saying, Mr. Mayor, we don't have all the information yet, that's for sure. And that we have to really ensure that if we're gonna have swales on, if swales is gonna be part of the solution for Main Street on the south side, there's a cause and effect, which means there won't be any parking on the south side of Main Street. So these are all the things that we have to look at and study.
But Dustin made it very clear that swells are not included on these sidewalks.
We've already been permitted for this through DOT.
Okay, yeah.
Settlement control, stormwaters, all looked at these plans
All
and
right.
certified them, and we're good with them.
And
Okay.
when is that supposed to start?
Now, what happened was, at the end of February, when the bids come in, we only got 2 bids.
Right.
With the state, with the grant money, they require 3. So that means we
Okay.
had to re-advertise. By the time we re-advertised and brought it back to the council,
So we're talking about September.
yeah, we were looking at middle of June being out there, and we
Right.
did not want that. So we have delayed it
Right.
and set it for the fall to start. But we'll be advertising beforehand to get everything.
You'll have
going.
those bids out
We'll be
sometime in
advertising in
summer?
June.
June, okay.
Yes, we'll be advertising in June to get started.
Now, we sent an additional letter out to people saying that we're not gonna start.
Not yet, but we will.
We will.
We'll just say that,
Okay.
but we will.
Dustin, you mind running through the timeline? And if we get 3, we have to do it all over again, right?
We gotta do it all over again. We gotta go back through the process, like I said again. If we get 3 bids, we're good.
Dustin,
we
what
don't-
happens, Dustin, Dustin, what happens if we only get 2 bids?
We have to re-advertise again.
Again?
We have to re-advertise.
But we can do that immediately, right?
Yeah, as soon as after we get it, the next day, we'll try to get it back in the paper as soon as we can and get it back out there again. And we have to advertise for 7 days or so, what they said.
Now, if the third bid comes in with just 2, do we be accept one of the
Right.
2?
If the next bid opening comes in with only 2 bids, yes, we can open them and choose the lowest one if you want to.
Now, do we advertise in Raleigh and Charlotte and all that, Lisa, or just local?
It will go all out, even DOT said they'll put it on their website also. It'll
Okay.
go way all over the state.
Okay. Thank you,
Just
Dustin.
clarifying, that means the third time you advertise, if you don't get 3 bids, that's when we can go ahead and make a decision on a contract.
We advertised the first go-around.
Yeah.
Then we come back with the bids. If they don't get with 2 bids, we got to advertise again. After the second advertisement, we would come back with still 2 bids, we can open them bids then.
Okay.
But we have to advertise twice if we
And we'll
don't.
start this sometime in June, so if we don't get
Yes.
the right amount of bids, it will be okay to start
Right.
this sometime late, early fall.
Yeah.
Yes, and we're looking at to bring it back in August. If everything goes back to August to y'all.
Yeah.
Dustin, if it starts like, say, October 1st, how long will it take to,
We're looking at, if we bring it to y'all in August, to award it in August, to get started in September, be done by the middle of December,
oh, good.
about 90 days.
Oh,
And,
okay.
and this sidewalk goes from the very east end
It'll run,
of Main Street all the way to 40th Street. Does it go beyond
no, it'll
the
stop.
40th Street walkover?
It'll be the same length as the bike path. So where the bike path starts at 40th Street, it'll go
Okay.
the same length to the east end.
Okay,
It'll be the same length.
okay, thank you.
Thank you, Dustin.
So I think we actually answered G and H,
Yeah.
so,
Okay?
thank you, Dustin.
Well, you want Crooked Gully?
Crooked Gully.
Crooked Gully, at the first of the year, we had a deep freeze, and it damaged the road. Basically, it froze and just crumbled all to pieces. This right here was outside the scope of what we budgeted for, and we just want to go in there and fix it. But Bonnie will, after it's done, Bonnie will bring y'all amendment to y'all, a budget amendment for this.
That's
back to
roughly
y'all.
$25,000.
About 25,000 to fix
Yeah.
them areas.
Dustin, I got a call from several residents on Crooked Gully, and I took a tour, and there's no question it needs to be done. The only question that I have is, will this money to repair Crooked Gully be taken from the Powell bill as opposed to operating funds?
That'd be,
No, please.
that'd be,
Answer that. There is some money left in the Powell bill, but when I get down to it, it may require taking, money from the fund balance of the Powell bill.
Right, okay. All right,
Yeah,
that's fine, thank you.
there.
Mr. Mayor, I'd like to file a motion to,
One,
John's got a
one more question. Is the repair that we're gonna do, is that sort of a short-term repair pending eventually repaving the thing, or is it a kind of idea that'd be a long-term repair that'll last a number of years?
It's repair now, and look like we might have to, do some paving in the fall on that road, but not the whole road, part of the road
Okay.
on Crooked Gully.
So this is the first step?
This is the first step, but we got to get this fixed first.
So this $25,000, as John was saying, is just for
the repairs.
repairs right now. And
Right, the
then
repairs-
Down the road, we have to repave it again,
Yes,
probably.
yes. Now, let me just say, when we do the repairs, we'll be shutting part of the road down from Clubhouse to Planters Ridge.
Right.
Because we're gonna be cutting the whole section of road out, digging down 2 inches and putting 2 inches of asphalt in.
Right,
So that will be shut off when that happens, and we'll let everybody know when we do that.
yeah. Dustin, when would this be completed? What's your time frame?
The timeframe to be done by the end of April, but also it depends
The
on the weather.
repairs- the
Yeah,
repairs
the repairs
be-
work, yes. As soon as I leave here, I'll make the contact to the contractor to avoid him to get started, and he'll give me a date. As soon as I get a date, we'll put it on the website and put it out for
Okay.
everybody.
All right, thank you.
Thank you, Dustin.
Mr. Mayor, I'd like to file a motion authorizing the fiscal year 18 expenditure of $25,000, which was not budgeted to repair Crooked Gully Road, a circle.
Second, any second?
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
One more thing I'll throw out there at you. We got confirmation yesterday from DEQ. The scoping meeting is set for April the 9th starting at 10 o'clock. April the 9th, the scoping meetings.
Oh, April the 9th.
At 10 o'clock will be the navigation, but basically be dredging. And at 11:30 will be the living shoreline.
And this is in Wilmington?
This is in Wilmington,
And what time's the meeting?
10 o'clock. So the next council meeting, y'all can choose who you want to see, because I've done told them there'll be about 4 of us going up there.
Okay. Lisa, could you add that to the April?
And also one more thing, let you know about the trash can poles, they'll be moved out by the end of May,
Out?
out.
Say, what
The
does that
trash
mean?
can poles, you know, we got a email from Noel yesterday about
Yes.
the trash can poles.
Yeah.
I've already looked at them, and what I've already discussed, and also talked to Richard, we're gonna have to move them out.
How far out towards the ocean are you gonna move them?
It'll be about 8 to 10 foot out in places, okay?
One vehicle width, basically.
Yes,
Yeah,
yeah, one vehicle width.
good, thank you.
The good news is that the dunes have recovered, so that where the poles are, we can see new dunes starting back up again.
Yeah.
after-
Yes.
After
Okay.
Hurricane Matthew.
And that is good news.
Thank you, Dustin.
Thank you, Dustin.
On new business, a UDO amendment public hearing request.
Yeah, this is a request to amend Article 9, Part 2, Section 909, off-street parking space requirements. Planning Board sought to change up parking uses for MB2, BB1, institute some form of parking maximums, and reduce or alter parking for restaurant requirements. They have recommended, moving this forward and recommended approval, so we're just asking to set the public hearing for May 7th.
Okay.
Mr. Mayor, I would like to file a motion to schedule UDO amendment public hearing for Article 9, Part 2, Section 9.09 pertaining to off-street parking space requirement for the May 7th, is that correct? May 7th, 2018 meeting at 7 p.m.
Nine.
April
9th.
Nine.
Oh, is it 9?
9th?
Is it-
Thank you.
Second?
Second.
I thought the first meeting was 7.
This is the 7th.
Yeah.
This is 7th.
Okay.
May 7th.
All in favor?
Aye.
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 Thank you.
May 7th at 7 p.m.
All right, C, council consideration of canceling April 2nd meeting.
Y'all pulled that off.
Pull that off, right? D,
Is this,
April 17th agenda.
no, the 9th, the 2nd?
We took it off, Rich.
No, you took taking off the second. This is disposition directives for April 2nd now instead of April 17th.
Right,
Okay,
In other words, we're gonna have a meeting.
right.
right, yes.
Do I have to get a second on that or first on that?
Well, you gotta go through what you want on the meeting.
Okay. Anybody want to add to the agenda for the April 2nd meeting?
Yes,
Yeah, go on, Jan.
I would like to, that's a, we can have discussion even though it's not an action item at that meeting, right?
Yes.
I would like for us to discuss and start working on possibilities for parking for Sunset Beach citizens, special parking for Sunset Beach citizens. I would like for us to begin looking at discussions to make that possible.
Does that mean
Everywhere on the
reserve?
island?
On mainland or?
On the island, I'm sorry.
So is that like reserve parking?
Special parking because you're a Sunset Beach resident, yes.
Ms. Harris and I separately went to Mark Kaplan. Mark has a lot across from the pier lot. It's where the old motel used to be. And I've noticed for the past couple of summers that it's empty, usually empty, other than July 4th and the big weekends, that there's ample space. And the thought was that we could somehow, on a first-come, first-served basis, maybe work out with Mark a lease arrangement so that citizens of Sunset Beach, and we haven't discussed anything. Maybe what I'll do is, before the April 2nd meeting, is that Jan and I will put together a proposal so that it could be first come, first serve, an area for, we're gonna have to pay him. Nothing's free in life. To maybe have a reserved area for citizen beach parking on the island. We have a lot of elderly residents. They have difficulty driving around the island. Many of them stay home. But if they had a reserved spot, or again, it could be crowded, first come, first serve, that they may take advantage of the beach. So it's just a thought. We're just in a general thought process about it.
During.
Are you gonna include, you know, how we define the citizens who could use that, and then also?
Yes, all of that will be included
how
in
we
the
can
discussions,
How we
right.
can identify, so.
Right,
So
yes.
enforcement is not an issue.
Yeah, stickers
Yes,
and, you know,
and
those
we're
kinds
not
of
prepared
things.
at this meeting to do it.
Yeah.
And who's gonna manage it and
Yes,
everything?
yes, we'll be discussing all of that.
Thank
Yeah,
you.
what we'll do, Charlie, is we'll develop a proposal based on our discussion, and then have it reviewed by the council and changed, modified, or whatever, and hopefully it's a proposal that he will approve.
That's fine.
Thank
And if
you.
any of you have any thoughts, in the meantime, you wanna let me
Email
know
Lisa.
about? Right, email Lisa.
Yeah. Poor Lisa.
Sorry.
Give it to Lisa.
Any more discussion?
No, the only thing I would like to add too is, and excuse me, but I've seen this before. A workshop, to me, this is not a workshop, and we need a discussion about it. This is a council meeting. We have the same format, and I don't understand. We went from 2 council meetings to a council meeting and a workshop. And history repeats itself, and now we're going back to 2 council meetings. So I would like to have a clear definition of what is a workshop. I thought workshops were designed to take an issue, maybe like beach parking, all get together, study it, get some citizen input, And just use it as a collective getting data and
Lisa,
making an
can you and I work together and work that out?
Mr. Mayor,
Yes.
can we put that on our list of,
I put that down for the April 2nd meeting, Jan.
Well, if you want to have a discussion, it
I
should be on
don't,
a
I don't
workshop.
think we're,
The
I
second meeting of the month.
I think we need a discussion. I don't think we're ready at the April 2nd meeting to do that.
I think we do an outline and then just talk about it then.
Why? Why, Jan?
I think that would be better done in a workshop meeting, because I can see that being a full, lengthy discussion.
Well,
Maybe
Well,
not.
let Lisa and I get together and put some thoughts together, and then we'll attach it to, to as agenda, look at it, and then we'll push it off to the agenda for the workshop in
Yeah.
April for discussion.
yeah, that's
Okay.
fine, Mark, that's good.
Is that okay?
That's excellent. And I would like to put down fire department staffing on the 2nd, please.
Can we just add that to number 4?
4-2, Charlie.
And the disposition directives, page 27.
John.
John, you said page 27?
Page 27 is disposition of directives. Item number 4.
Oh, all right.
Hiring freeze.
Yeah, okay, for April 2nd, okay.
So reviewing the agenda, that agenda that we have in place right now is acceptable?
Yeah, to me.
You know, on the upcoming agenda, we have the climate control measures. On April 2nd, I'd like to kind of give you a report of
Okay.
where there are recommendations that would then be discussed in detail at the April 17th meeting.
That's fine, John.
That's good.
On the ordinance on amending premises to be kept clean, that's been overcome by events for the time being. When Hiram is ready to be able to talk to me and Bruce, we will bring that up again. There are complications involved with changing that rules
Okay.
to make it accomplish what we thought we could accomplish.
But that's on the
Just let me know.
17th, right?
Well, right
No,
now it
no,
doesn't
we
have a
have
date.
to, we
but-
have to discuss it.
Yeah,
Okay.
And,
I'm ready whenever you are.
okay, I'm not.
Okay, I'm just, just let me know, I'll be ready.
And also, Lisa would put on the agenda for April 2nd, a discussion of who's going to go to the SCOPA meeting.
Mhm.
Yeah.
Any other discussion or add-on?
No, no.
I go to
How's
public.
the salary and study, how's that, are you making progress? The salary and benefit study?
A little bit of progress with all of the things that's been happening recently. I have been reluctant to ask staff for assistance, but it's coming.
Any other comments? Public comments, please. Come on.
Good morning, Tom Borman, 1515 North Shore Drive. Sorry to bring up the beach cabanas again, but I just wanted to make the council aware. The 2/3 requirement was not met today with 3/5. Don't know if you're aware of that, but mathematically.
Just real quick, a second reading, it doesn't have to, just 2/3, right?
Oh, I thought it was
Simple
2/3.
majority.
Simple majority.
Simple majority on the second
Oh, okay.
reading.
So it's not 2/3.
Yeah,
First reading, 2/3, second reading.
I got it.
majority.
Okay.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Yes?
Joseph Santavica, 9109 Forest Drive, Southwest Sunset Beach. Couple of comments. When you were talking about committee reports from the ERC coming into council, and there was a proposal talking about who would dictate the distribution of those reports, suggesting that maybe council would limit the distribution of those reports. I'm suggest to you that as soon as they complete that report and give it to you, it's available under FOIA, and under FOIA, I can distribute it to anybody that I want. Second point, talking about your meeting with businesses, it would seem to me you might want to also think about including at such meetings people who are looking to establish businesses here in the town. They may have a say because they may have some specific knowledges or specific complaints about activities that they've tried to undergo and have been precluded because of resistance from town officials. Last but not least, that's all I've got to say. But I won't go to the last point. I do have a question concerning a comment that you, sir, have made a lot of times concerning a town that you came from that was of 50,000 people and only had one fire department. I'd like to know what that town is.
I never said that.
Oh, I think it's on the record you've mentioned that.
I never said that. I lived in a town that had about 30,000 people, which had multiple fire departments. And they all were volunteers, so I'm just telling you.
I think we can go back in the record and
I think
we can find
Rich
that.
said that, not I.
I believe it was Mr. Sherrato.
Was it?
That he came from a town that, I don't think he said that at all. I think it was you, Mr. Benton.
Yeah, I didn't, so it's all right.
No, we're not supposed to be having a discussion.
I know. Let's go. That's it. Is that it?
That's it. That's all I got to say.
Thank you, Joe.
Any other discussions? Yes, ma'am.
I don't know if I'm allowed 2 times, but
Why don't you just lower that for you? Make it easy for you.
Jean Hunt from Forest Walk, about Crooked Gully. Are they going to repair just the places where the cones are, not the other spots that are falling apart?
Where the stone is
No,
now?
no, no, where the cones, they've placed cones to warn people of the worst spots.
That's being repaired.
Are they,
Yes, where it broke up at, and also between the dirt pile, we're going to repair that too.
just the place where the cones are?
No, there's other places that, in between that, we're going
Yeah, there's a lot of other places. Yeah, that's gonna all be done? Okay, great. Yeah, that was my concern. Thank you.
Thank you, Gene.
Any other comments? Any other comments? I'd like to adjourn to a closed session meeting.
So moved.
So move.
Second. Everybody up?
Aye.
Aye.